soul to soul, soul to soul.
Welcome dears, we are again here with the show Soul to Soul Talk Show. We began this journey of Soul to Soul Talk Show in our previous episode with Sister Kimbo. Sister Kimbo, welcome to our show. Sister Kimbo, including me, everyone needs appreciation in his life. But you are very lucky enough that at a very tender age, you started getting appreciation from your family, friends. But in spite of this appreciation, what made you feel lonely in your life?
Even though I'd been taught to dance and I was enjoying my dancing so much, I still felt very lonely. There's a big difference between feeling alone and lonely. Alone is standing by me, just me, but lonely is standing with no one around you. So I felt very lonely because I wasn't even standing, I wasn't even connected with me. I was standing completely in the void. There was no God, there was no Baba, there was no support system with me. So it was very scary to be in that place. Even though I was dancing and doing everything I loved, it wasn't enough. Because ultimately I didn't have a connection. I didn't have any sense of my own being, my soul. I didn't have a sense of self. There was no sense of self whatsoever.
Continuing with your personal life, were you single or married?
When I was dancing, I was single.
And later?
Later, I was married in my early 30s. I was married for 10 years.
Okay.
I didn't have any children.
Were you happy with your married life?
In the beginning, yes. But very soon after, I realized that I'd married my father, which is what we normally do. We marry either our mothers or our fathers to learn lessons in life. And unfortunately, I married my father, which wasn't really a good thing. So it only lasted 10 years. I would have left a lot earlier, but I was too scared to be on my own.
What made you extend your marriage period from less to 10 years?
The fact that I didn't have the confidence to be on my own, to stand independently on my own and have a life. I needed someone, I needed backup, I needed support. And that was my husband. That was the person. I used him as my support because I couldn't function on my own. I needed something outside of me. I always needed something outside of me.
So your married life didn't give you all the happiness and...
No, not at all. No. It gave me happiness to a certain level. But then after a while that gets very boring because it wasn't really true happiness. It was masquerading as happiness.
So it didn't stand by or gave a support system to you?
No, not at all. No. I compromised. I stayed because it left me feeling unlonely. So I compromised. And I felt like I had no other choice. And that's a very big difference. If you feel like you have choices, and if you feel like you don't have choices. And I didn't feel like I had any choices. So I didn't make any changes.
Was your husband your father figure?
Absolutely. And to prove it, he was 11 years older than me.
What made you marry a person who is 11 years older than you?
The attraction, because of his capacity to support me emotionally and also financially. I didn't have to worry so much. I could hand over. He could be more responsible than me because I wasn't doing a very good job. So being 11 years older, being 11 years my senior, he was that father figure, so he did take care of me.
What made you break up such a good relationship when you said that he was financially strong, emotionally he supported you? So what made it to break up your relationship, which was really good?
Well, like any relationship, normally in the beginning they're always very good. And then after a while, I began to understand that he really wasn't emotionally supportive. And that was really what I needed the most. And he was very much like my father, and my father wasn't very emotionally supportive. So basically I was staying because he was helping me. He was helping me live. He was helping me survive. And I realized that really wasn't the best place for me to be. I needed to know how to survive myself. I needed to learn how to be resilient, independently of anybody else. I needed to rely on me. I knew this unconsciously. I wasn't able to verbalize this consciously, but I knew at a deep level that staying there wasn't doing me of any benefit. It wasn't doing me service. It was to my detriment to stay there any longer.
You were immature during your patching up with your relationship, during the initial stage of your relationship.
In the beginning, I was very immature. However, I'd learned some lessons being involved in a relationship with my ex-husband. So when I decided to leave, I had become more mature. I wasn't as mature as I wanted to be, as I needed to be. But I knew that in order to become more mature, I needed to leave him. So I courageously left without knowing what was going to happen, but I just knew I had to leave, so I did.
So to become mature enough, you broke up?
To continue my journey for searching who I was, I just knew at a very deep level that I needed to leave him. And at that time, I had reached a certain maturity so that I could leave him. I wasn't as mature as I wanted to be or as I needed to be, but at that time I was mature enough, so I left.
Didn't your husband try to maintain the relationship?
Yes, but he was unsuccessful. I was determined that I knew in my heart that this was not going to work. So I left, not knowing what the outcome was going to be. I just knew I had to leave. And that's happened quite a lot in my life. I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I just have to do something.
You said you always wanted an emotional support. So after breaking up with your husband, did you again engage with Anna in any other relationship?
Yes, I did. I left my husband and I went traveling to Italy for my work, and there I met someone and I had another relationship.
So that relationship gave you the emotional support that you really wanted?
For a short time again. And then I realized that there was no point in continuing that relationship. So again, I left and I was on my own, but more mature, even more this time, and quite determined to be single for some time, because I realized that my answers were not with another person. The answers that I needed in order for my life to be more peaceful and more happy were with me, not with other people, not with getting those answers from other people. So the second relationship was worse, in fact. But it taught me many, many lessons, and it made me much more mature and much more ready to make that decision to be independent on my own and single.
So after that breakup, you decided to be single?
I broke up that relationship, and in the end, I broke that relationship up.
So what replaced that external support that you always found that I need some external support to support yourself?
Well, at that time, when that relationship finished, that was the same time when 3 very important things happened in my life, when I realized I really needed some help. So that relationship finished. I lost my job, and I realized that I was an alcoholic and I was also a drug addict, and I asked for help. So in a very short space of time, those 3 things happened, and I sought help, I got the help, and then I stopped using everything.
What were the 3 things that made you think that I have to give up everything?
First of all, I realized that the relationship that I had at that time was not working, and it was not serving me. I lost my job. I also had a motorbike accident on the way back from my job. That's how I lost my job. And also, I realized that I had a problem with alcohol and with smoking. So that's the crossroads I reached, and I asked for help. It was overwhelmingly confronting to me that there was a problems in my life. It needed all of those things to happen for me to stop, pause, think, acknowledge, accept, realize and understand you need to do something about this.
So what did you do about that?
Well, first I needed to look at the addictions, because without looking at those problems, there was no other way that I could continue my life. Those activities needed to stop. They needed to cease. Because when you're using alcohol and other drugs, as I had been for a long time, it impacts the brain. It impacts the way that the brain functions. And I needed to give my brain a rest. I needed to give my brain some time out. I didn't understand it at the time. I was taught all these things. So I sought help in being able to stop. I got therapy, started to understand what was going on in my mind, thinking, my feelings, my emotions. So ultimately I became an expert on who I actually am at any one time. So now I'm very vigilant. Now I monitor what's happening with me. Now I'm highly skilled in understanding what my experiences are. And I can very rarely not explain what's happening to me at any one time, because I've learned. Before I had no idea. Now I understand. So it took that process, it took that experience to understand. So no regrets.
Did smoking and drinking affect your body, body parts?
No, actually no. I was very fortunate. My liver is fine. I have no scarring on my lungs from the smoking. I have no problems whatsoever. My health I did have some health issues, very drastic health issues a number of years ago, but that wasn't really related at all to the drinking or the smoking.
So did you go to any expert or something?
Yes.
For leaving this smoking and drinking?
Yes. I went to the proper facilities where you go to stop addictions, and there are a number of different hospitals in Australia where you can, and I sought treatment. And from there I continued being without, using without, and learning how to live without. I had to learn life skills. I had to learn how to function without using these external resources.
So it really helped you?
It changed my life. It prepared me for learning meditation, because my mind had to clear, my mind had to lift the fog. There was a lot of fog here. They call it the frontal lobe area. It was very foggy. I was left not able to concentrate very well, and I just wasn't coping very well, after. So after some time, I learned other skills, and then I was ready for the meditation.
So even meditation was a part to leave this smoking and drinking?
Meditation was the icing on the cake. Stopping the drinking and the alcohol were the first steps. Then after that, I was ready to take on meditation. because meditation meant that I had to sit initially and be comfortable with me. Initially, in that first few years when I'd stopped the drinking and the smoking, I was still learning. I was learning, actually, for the first time to be comfortable with me in this body. And also becoming aware that the external resources weren't actually helping me anymore. They'd lost their value. And I was starting to realize that there was something going on inside as opposed to the outside. So slowly I was becoming more confident and independent and happy and comfortable and grateful and not so angry anymore. And I started to laugh, whereas before I wasn't laughing very often. So life was becoming enjoyable.
After undergoing such an emotional turmoil, people think that there's no use in living this life. People tend that it's like we'll commit suicide. Did you ever think over that?
Yes, I did. Many, many times. I contemplated ending my life. But, suicide is actually not about ending one's life. Suicide is about ending one's emotional pain. And when the emotional pain is at such a level and it does not abate, it does not stop, it does not decrease. In fact, the emotional pain increases. It becomes so excruciating that it's difficult to take the next breath and to continue the life. So there's a big difference between not wanting to live and committing suicide. There's a real gap because it's really about emotion. It's not about ending life, it's about ending emotional pain. And for me, I desperately wanted the emotional pain to stop. So I did many times contemplate suicide. And I did attempt once. And gratefully and thankfully, I was not successful.
Every time you tried to commit suicide, then what made you feel that I should continue with this life again?
Again, when the student is ready and the teacher appears, I learnt how to ask for help. And at this particular stage, I knew where to ask for help and who. I had begun to create a circle of support around me. So I knew when I was so distressed, I knew who I could pick up the phone and speak to. And this particular day, I had asked the right person, the correct person, the appropriate person for help. And somehow that conversation left me with just that amount of hope. Just that amount. That's all I needed. Because before that, the hope had gone. There was no hope. It was like pressing the delete key on the keyboard of the computer. Hope, delete, gone, ho gaya. Completely finished. But this left me just with enough. And I thought, okay, I'm okay. I will continue.
Who gave you this hope?
A very special person in my life, a therapist. I'd reached out to, I had a conversation, and it just made me realize that it's okay. TK, you're okay. You are okay. Because one of the most fearful things is not understanding our emotions. And when we're overwhelmed with emotion, and our emotion is making us experience such turmoil, such pain, and we don't know how to stop it, it can leave us feeling very disempowered. And it's really about being able to accomplish, being competent, of experiencing that now, that moment in time. If we can just get through that moment to the next, we'll be okay. But when you're in turmoil, your brain is not always functioning allowing you to concentrate well. So you're forgetting that it's really just that moment that you have to get through. And if you can get through that one, then maybe you can get through the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Because if you're feeling that this moment is going to be the same for the rest of my life, then what's the point?
You said that you tried committing suicide once and you were unsuccessful.
Mm.
Was that hope lost at that time?
Hope was gone at that time. Hope was completely gone. It didn't exist in my vocabulary. There was no such thing. That's how dark, that's how low, that's how desperately unhappy I was. There to help me, just me, in all this chaos.
Didn't your external sources help you anytime?
At that time, they had stopped working. And I was left with me, scared little me, not knowing what to do, having no answers, or having answers but not confident that they were the right answers. I was always questioning myself, never thinking, oh, that's okay to do that, or that's okay to do that.
There was no such person who would answer your questions?
No. There were answers, and there were persons giving me answers, but the answers never resonated, never filled me with a resolution. They never made me feel as though, okay, that's what I need to do. Yeah. Nobody was making sense in my direct family or friends. God was not in my life. I wasn't searching for God in my life. I didn't need God in my life.
The external sources didn't include God?
Absolutely not. No. Not the God that I understood. Not the Western style God. Not the Catholic God. That was not the God I wanted at all. So I thought that God, all the gods, they're all the same. So I definitely don't need God. If they're all the same, and that's what I thought. I didn't understand that there was many differences. So I didn't really want to be a part of any of them. They can't help me, and that's how I thought. So I didn't search. Not then. No.
How did you came in contact with Brahmakumaris?
The first time happened, I stopped drinking for around 18, 20 months. And I realized that there was something still missing. And I was talking with friends, and I remember one day, one of my new friends, a new friend that wasn't drinking, and she said to me, you should try meditation. I said, really? I'm not sure. She said, no, let's go and do it together. So I did a Google search, and we found the Brahmakumaris Raj Yoga's retreat center outside of Sydney in the mountains. And I called to check and see if there was availability to go to this particular weekend. And I visited 4 days later. The date I actually contacted was the 18th of January. And I went 4 days later, which was, I think, the 22nd or the 23rd of January. And I arrived early at the retreat center with my friend. And it was very beautiful, very pristine, very peaceful. And I was told by the coordinator, please go into the meditation hall. I don't know what to do. Let's go. So I did. And I had this wonderful experience. And I could feel the energy in the room. And it was just glorious. It was wonderful. It was magical. So much peace and so much relaxation I felt. And I thought, wow, where have I arrived? What is this place? You know? And this is 2 hours before they started they started the retreat. And then the rest of the weekend was just absolutely sensational. And everything they taught during the course of the weekend resonated with me. It was like the words were filling my bloodstream at a cellular level. They were changing the DNA. That's how it felt. It resonated so strongly. They were talking about who we truly are and different aspects of the teachings of Raj Yoga. And when I left that weekend, after lunch on the Sunday, I got in my car and I felt like the car was floating down the mountain. It was amazing. And 2 days later, that was Sunday, and 2 days later, I'd already made contact with the centre in charge at the main centre in Sydney, in Ashfield. And I rang and I said, look, I've just done the course. Can I come? Yes, of course you can come. And I went for 7 o'clock evening meditation and sat in the meditation room and had the identical experience that I'd had at the retreat center. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know what this is. I have no idea what this is, but I want more. And I need to understand exactly what is happening, what this is. Completely life-changing. Never looked back. Never not practiced. Every day. In fact, I've become a yogi that does meditation all the time. I needed all of the miscellaneous, the incense, the candles, the music, the cushions, the ambience, the environment. Now I do that all the time. I take that with me everywhere. And life has become extremely special.
So you became independent, mature, and you gained everything
I've
that
gained
was missing in your life.
Everything that was missing in my life, I got. So in fact, the 2 years of recovery, as they say, from no more addictive behaviors, that led me and empowered me to move into being ready to start learning the discipline of meditation. It was the cake, it was the icing on the cake, because the foundation was me to stop those bad behaviors, and you have to stop. I did that, and then I introduced meditation, and there's no taste anymore for that old lifestyle or nothing.
You said before you didn't believe in God.
No.
Then after connecting with Brahmakumaris, after seeing that God really exists and you started doing meditation also, how did you feel?
I was very surprised. I was pleasantly surprised to learn that there was such a thing as a God that I could have a relationship with that made me feel okay to be in this body as this soul. So it was very, very nice.
So this was the best relationship.
This is the only relationship. The relationship I have with Baba and me. This is the best. It's the second relationship. The primary relationship is the one I have with myself, and then with Baba. Because if I understand what's happening with me at any one time, and I'm vigilant and I monitor my thinking, my emotions, my status, my stage, then everything else just happens.
We discussed about the personal life of Sister Kimbo in the previous and this episode. I hope you all have cherished this experience and this would be an inspiration to all of you. We'll be continuing this personal experience of Sister Kimbo in the next episode. Thanks for watching. Do join us in the next episode. Thank you.